Way back in, I don't know, 2012, I got on an app called Instagram. This was an app that I learned about because some of my clients would start bringing in these square pictures on their phone for haircut requests. And all these pictures had really heavy filters on them. It was kind of hard to see what was going on, but there was a very specific look to them where I was like, all these people are clearly getting these photos from the same place. Actually, funny story about that. When people first started asking me for hard parts, I was like, that's not shaved in there. People don't shave parts in. I was like, that's a filter on the photo that looks like it's shaved in there. And after enough people asked for it, I was like, well, maybe I guess it's a thing now. We'll shave some parts in there. Anyway, so I got on the app and I had no idea what it could offer, but I immediately saw it as an opportunity to share my portfolio. So long before Instagram was a thing, I had MySpace, like everybody had. I think I had Facebook for like 1 second, but kind of got over it. But anyways, when I was on MySpace, I played in bands, and I was always like trying to promote my bands on MySpace. And near the end of MySpace, I was promoting my hair cutting on there, putting my sort of portfolio on MySpace. And I had a lot of clients back in those days. This was so funny because this was before like mobile internet. My clients would go to my MySpace on their desktop computer at home, and they would print out pictures of haircuts that I had taken and bring in these printed pictures to say, I want this haircut that you did. And anyway, so I got on Instagram and I just saw it as a mobile version of what I was doing with MySpace, which again was just a portfolio. So I didn't know anything about photography. I didn't, nobody back then, and still a lot of people today, don't see Instagram as a photography app, which is funny because the icon for Instagram is a camera. And even the name Instagram comes from instant camera. I forget the exact details, but it came from some kind of instant camera, and then gram, like Telegram. So it is a photo-centric app. I lost what I was talking about there. I'm trying to think about doing a haircut right now. Oh yeah, so I got on there and I was just snapping pictures with my phone like anybody would, and I was putting all the built-in Instagram filters on there and the big thick borders and everything like we all used to do. And as I started posting, I started growing. Like somehow, for some reason, people liked my account. And I remember getting to like 10,000 followers and going, why the heck is this happening? This was like 6 months after I got on the app. And a bunch of my friends who were on the app were like, we don't have that many followers. What are you doing different? Truth be told, at the time, I actually had no idea what I was doing different. And I was kind of curious and I wanted to find out. I read a lot of marketing books to see what marketing is about and see maybe if I could figure out something I had already been kind of naturally doing to see if I could do more of it to make it work better. And I was trying all these marketing techniques. I never got into like hashtagging or doing the sort of traditional social media things to get busier, but it was more stuff like Seth Godin talks a lot about creating a product or service that's different enough from its core that people will just want to talk about it. So I was like, oh, I like being different. I can just keep trying to do that. And anyways, I was finding these incremental bits of growth as I was doing everything I could do to like market myself and try to be different. It was working. But then eventually I got an email from a magazine and they said, hey, we're doing a piece about social media hairdressers. We'd like to feature you. So they asked me for some pictures of my work and a little bio and all of this, and it was really cool. I was like, I'm going to be in a magazine. I've made it. And I said, can I send you an iPhone photo? And they said, no, we need like high-res pictures. So I hired a friend of mine who was a photographer and had him come out and take some high-res photos of haircuts I was doing. And with those high-res photos, I was in a magazine. It was really cool. So then a few months later, I had another opportunity to be in a different magazine. And the same thing happened. They said, we want high-res photos. So I hired the same photographer to come out and take photos again. And at this point, between hiring the photographer 2 times, which was well worth it, I mean, the guy did amazing work and I hired him several times since then, I realized like I could have bought a camera for that. And actually, a little shout out here, Mark Republic, around that time, he started posting haircut photos taken with a full frame camera, And I was like, oh my gosh, this like Instagram barber has professional looking photos. Now, he was the first one that I saw doing that. I'm not saying that he was the first, but he's the first one I saw. And so light bulb turned on and I went out and I bought a camera. At this point, I don't think I had ever taught a class. 2 times I was in magazines, but I hadn't really done anything other than show up to the salon and do haircuts. I might have had my product line at the time. Maybe it was just starting, but it wasn't like a thing yet. I think that was probably during the time when I was just selling it on eBay on my weekends. Anyways, so I get this camera, I have no idea how to use it, and I just start shooting my clients with it. And I was actually really disappointed because after spending $500 at Best Buy on a camera, my photos with this fancy camera looked exactly like my phone. And then I set out to learn to use it. What actually happened is I was looking at like photography accounts and I found this Instagram account that was all about like creative portraiture. And I'm scrolling through the account with, you know, all the little tiles and all the photos they had taken, and everything looked so extra cool. And I didn't know why or what it was about it, but the thought occurred to me. I said, if I could have my hair account look like a portrait photography account, that's goals right there. I want that. So I started striving. Sorry, that's my braces. I started striving toward that. What I did is I took Thursday nights to do almost what I'm doing here, to just practice. Every Thursday night, after I would put in a regular long hard work day in the salon, I would invite a friend or a client or just somebody who I thought would be cool and willing to do this to just sit for a haircut, a free haircut. I'd give them a free haircut to let me take their picture because I wanted to learn to take better pictures. In fact, after I got confident with my pictures, I even paid a model one time $600 to let me cut his hair because I wanted to post it on my Instagram. But the point being, I spent 4 years every Thursday night deliberately trying to take better photos. I realized that on Instagram, if I had taken a photo of a haircut that I thought was phenomenal, like one of the better haircuts I could do, and I just kind of took a quick snapshot of it without a lot of thought, it would get some reposts maybe, it would get some likes, but at the same time, if I ever accidentally, and at this point it was an accident, if I ever accidentally took a great photo, those are the ones that would like end up all over Pinterest, and I would like Google men's hair because I was looking for inspiration. I'd find my own photos on there. And I started realizing that on this app that is about photography, that has a picture of a camera as the app's icon, they didn't care how good you actually were at hair. They cared how nice your photos looked. And when I say they, I mean just people. It's not any one specific group. It's humanity, you know? We respond more to the narrative, the underlying narrative in an image than we do to the technical detail that we're hiding in the haircut. And so as time went on and I kept trying to get better and better at photos, I started getting a lot more opportunities. I started to see, so first of all, every time I tried to take a photo, I wasn't just trying to rush a quick snapshot of a client while the next client was waiting. That's what I used to do when Instagram wasn't working for me. It wasn't doing much for me when I had likes and follows and nothing else from it. But what I started doing is every time I would post something on Instagram, I made it sure it was the absolute best photo I could take. I was thinking about it recently. I looked at my account and I've posted, 800 and something posts. And when I hear somebody say, oh, I've tried everything with the camera and I just can't figure it out, what I want to ask, and I'm going to be a stinker here, have you tried 800 times to do your best photo of your life? Because that's what I started doing. Every time I took a photo, I was like, this is going to be the best one of my life. It's much like every time I do a haircut, I want it to be better than the one before. And so I started doing that with photos, and that's when the opportunities really started coming. That's when the following just grew exponentially. It started to become, and this almost sounds like ego, but one of my mentors once told me, if you state a fact, it's not ego. If you state an opinion, it's ego. It is a fact that when I started taking better pictures, it got to the point where I would take a photo of a haircut. I kind of knew before I even posted it, like this one's getting reposted. I know it. This one's going to get a lot of likes. It's going to get out there. And I would joke with my model or client or whoever in the chair and say, oh, this one's going to get 2,000 likes. And then it would. Not because I thought I was so great, but just because you do something enough times and you start to see the results of that something, you can kind of start to, it's just like with hair cutting. I know if I pull the hair this way, it's going to do this certain thing. If I pull it this way, it's going to do this certain thing. You do something enough and you see the results enough, you start to understand how it works. But what I started to understand, without a doubt, is that my photography got me invited to speak at events. Not that they wanted me to speak about photography, but suddenly, now that I was doing the same haircuts I had always done, but I had better photos of them, now suddenly I was on the bill. My photography got my following grew like exponentially. I would post things, they would get reposted, and off of a single post, I would get like 2,000 new followers. Granted, Instagram doesn't work the way that it did a couple years ago. You can't just get a repost and grow now. It doesn't really work that way. I feel like everybody's attention span is a little bit fried. But it still actually, it does work that way. It's just a little bit less blatant. It's a little bit more subtle now. And sorry, I'm getting so distracted because I'm like into this haircut, but I started to know if I took this kind of photo of this kind of haircut and I post this, it's going to get likes, it's going to get reposts. And for a couple years there, I was just growing and it was great. Admittedly, Instagram reached a point where if you wanted to grow further, you had to do a lot of stuff like I'm doing right now, stand in front of the camera, be a personality, talk to people, that kind of thing. And I don't really like to share a lot about my personal life, and I actually don't love being on camera in general. I don't think my face is good enough for camera. I have a little bit of a lisp, and I have braces and whatever. So what I'm trying to say is I got to a point where what was required to grow on Instagram, things like doing reels and stories, I didn't want to do. But I did still want to post photos. And I still wanted to post the best photos that I could. And I'll tell you, at one point, posting the best photos I could absolutely helped me grow my following. Today, it doesn't necessarily, actually, I think my following's shrinking, but that's for another reason. I'll get into that in 1 second. Instagram to me started off as a portfolio, a place for my clients to see work that I like to do so they can come request that type of work. And to this day, that's the core of it for me. That's the center of what I do with Instagram. But I also like to use it to connect with people and share ideas and teach whatever I think I might know about anything. Sort of why I'm doing this. And when the numbers kind of stopped growing, I realized the numbers were never the goal in the first place. It's not that I wanted to have I never wanted to have a massive following or anything, and I definitely don't today by the standards of what a massive following can be. But I have been able to pivot my career in a way that I can pretty much do whatever I want. And again, that sounds like ego. I do whatever I want, but I mean it very factually. I never do a haircut that I'm not excited to do. I never do a haircut that's not fun for me. And looking back, I realized that it all happened because of the camera. Here's the thing, is when I started posting better photos, I started to get more clients. And granted, even before I had Instagram, I was booked solid. Like, Instagram didn't get me busy. I was already busy before that, but what Instagram, and particularly having better photos on Instagram, did do is it brought in surplus clients. So what I mean by that is I had so many clients that I kept having to raise my prices and in order to shrink down my clientele. When you're able to charge enough because you have too much demand, you're able to not work completely around the clock, cranking away every kind of haircut that you don't even want to do anyways. You're able to kind of pick and choose the haircuts you want to do. That's not to say that I'll ever tell a client like, no, I don't want to cut your hair. But the people who sit in my chair know what I do. They know what I'm good at. They know what I like to do. Can you guess why? It's It's because of my Instagram account. You look at my Instagram account and you know what kind of work I do, and you know what I like doing, you know what I'm good at doing. And if you want to come in and ask for something I don't have advertised on my Instagram account, you're taking a risk. Maybe I'm going to tell you I can't do that. But that all happened because of a camera. The right clients find me because I'm able to put on a screen the work that I do, if all that makes sense. This was such a long roundabout way of saying that simple little thing there, but we're all hairdressers and barbers. We know how hard it can be to try to keep your train of thought straight while you're in the middle of a haircut. So as my clientele grew and I was able to kind of niche down into doing specifically the kind of work that I like to do and that I'm good at doing, I also started getting opportunities to go teach. People would see like, oh, big following, nice pretty pictures. This guy must be really good at cutting hair. And as you can tell watching me right now, I'm not any better than anybody else. I do a haircut hopefully the same way that everyone else does. But, people were requesting it and I was like, okay, I'll go tell you what I know. And I started getting on stage and showing people how I do haircuts. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. But it also felt lacking. I mean, from the very first class I did, I walked out of there and I thought, I didn't teach them what I did to get busy. I taught them what they asked for, but it's like, I heard a saying one time, I think I heard this from Brett in Canada. They say, give the client what they want, not what they ask for. And it was a lot like that with the classes I was doing. People would ask for, teach us to do a better haircut. But what they wanted was to be busier, to have more clients that they like doing, to have more opportunities in their career. And so pretty quickly after I started teaching classes, I started to move my curriculum away from how to do a haircut. Because, like I said, I'm not the most revolutionary hair cutter as far as my technique goes. And even if I was, it's hard for me to speak in hypotheticals there. I didn't get busy by being some remarkable, revolutionary, new way to cut hair cutter. I did it, I guess, kind of by understanding business. Maybe it came down to those marketing books that I had read early on. But a lot of it, too, was the freaking camera. It was so much exponential growth. The media numbers went up, and because the social media numbers went up, everything else went up along with it. And social media numbers went up because my pictures got better. It was undeniable. But I didn't even figure that out right away. So I started for a few years doing courses about here's how to raise your prices. Here's how to raise up your demand. And I have plenty of videos about that on my YouTube. But I have even better ones at thehairjam.com. So the YouTube stuff's like the free sample version. But thehairjam.com is deep, thorough, hours and hours of these kinds of business lectures. Business lectures. So after a few years of teaching, here's how to raise your prices, here's how to get more of the clients that you like to get, I still was, as sad as this sounds, knowing that Instagram is a photography app with a camera as the icon, knowing that I still didn't know that photos were the reason that everything happened for me. But then it started to dawn on me, and it came about after I started doing the Hair Jam courses. So I had put out a course about kind of more of the business practices of hair, how I raise my prices, all that stuff, how to offer a more valuable haircut, how to teach clients things and why it's valuable to do so, that sort of stuff. After I taught that, I did a course about haircutting and just trying to put the fundamentals into my own words. Not that I reinvented anything. I just tried to put it in very much layman's terms and kind of more casual conversation stuff like we're having here, instead of saying elevate 45 degrees. But after I did those courses, I thought, what else can I offer that nobody's offering that would be really helpful to people? And it was right in front of me all along. Right in front of me all along. Think about this. Have you ever seen somebody on Instagram who doesn't cut hair as good as you, but they're way bigger than you? And they have all these opportunities, and these companies want to work with them and hire them. They have all the followers, and they're busy, and you look at them and you're angry because you're like, oh, they're not even that good. I'm better than them. This is a known thing. It's a common thing that, if I say that in a crowd full of people, there's a bunch of people who kind of snicker, go, oh, yeah, we all, and they start naming names. I won't do that, but This is a fact of reality that we know, but we don't like, but we know it's there, and we think something's unfair, somebody cheated, that people on an app with a picture of a camera as the icon who aren't that good at hair are really, really busy for some reason that's not hair. I wonder what that reason could be. Maybe they're good on a camera or good with a camera. If we so you hear this a lot too. Like a lot of people want to have beef with like, oh, I'm not a photographer. I'm a barber, and they refuse to learn anything about this stuff. And think about what I'm doing here. And then you hear people say things like, oh, because of social media, the industry has been tainted, and now people just worry about likes and trying to take pretty pictures instead of worrying about doing a better haircut. It dawned on me that if you think back to any great haircutter throughout history, I don't want to name specific names. I don't know if it's like going to get me sued or anything, but when you think about the best haircutter of all time, and we all know who I'm talking about, did you ever see his work? No, you didn't. Some of you might have. Some of you might have. You saw pictures of his work, and that's how you know he was the greatest. You think about like celebrity stylists who cut so-and-so's hair, and it was famous, and it changed the way everyone did their hair. We never saw that haircut. We saw it through a camera. So the camera thing has always existed. It's always been the heartbeat of our industry. It's always been the reason knowledge and information and trends change and move. And we want to blame it for like, oh, kids these days on social media just care about pictures of hair instead of getting better at the craft. But nobody's ever been big and known in hair without having a camera in front of them. Think about this. Even if let's say you're like a stage artist, a platform artist. Granted, like you're doing that in front of a group of people, and maybe that's specifically your talent is being able to do this in front of a group of people. At some point or another, I guarantee they did it in front of a camera. Because haircuts in front of a camera sell product. They sell tools. If you ever want to get the endorsement or the sponsorship, that's kind of what the companies want from you. If you really think about it, it sounds messed up. It sounds like, no, they want to endorse the best in the industry because they want to support the best in the industry. No, dude, like if you're the best hair cutter in the world, but you are only doing it in an empty room like I'm doing right now, if I was doing this without a camera right here, just by myself in my office at 10:30 p.m., who's going to sponsor you if you're the best in the world at cutting hair and you're cutting hair alone in an office with nobody looking? The reason sponsorships and everything are even a thing is because the pretty pictures of your hair sell the product and sell the tools. And I'm not saying that to knock companies because I have a product company that I sell by posting pictures on Instagram. But what I'm trying to get at here is the importance of photography is not a new thing. It's not a thing because of social media. It's a thing that's always been there. Hair magazines don't want to feature people just for being cool at cutting hair alone in the salon with nobody looking at them. They're going to feature the people who put together a photo shoot to get in the magazine. You know what I'm saying? So that's always existed. It's really hard to do this without walking around here and getting out of the camera. I make that disclaimer every time I record a haircut video. Go watch my YouTube channel. You'll hear me say that all the time. It's really hard to do this on camera. Well, so my following started to shrink, and I started getting messages even and comments about like, oh man, this guy used to be cool. Now he just talks about photography. Like, why is he talking about this? Here's the thing. I started on Instagram to have a portfolio to show my clients the work I like to do, to get more clients who like the kind of work that I like to do. Then I continued to use Instagram as a way to educate because I really enjoyed watching other barbers and stylists enjoy their career more and have a better career. And I used my platform to try to connect with people that do that. But then when I realized how important photography has been to the entire industry from day one, Like, as soon as cameras and haircutting were both a thing at the same time, they belonged together and they benefited each other. And they never were separate. But as soon as I realized that, oh, pretty. As soon as I realized that, I had to do what felt right. I mean, you know what would feel wrong to me? Is if I stopped talking about what I believed makes or breaks careers today, and instead I talked about the haircut that I'm doing right now. If I stopped talking about photography and instead I talked about how to blow dry your hair. We all know how to blow dry hair now. I've been talking about that for years, or at least everybody who follows me knows how to do it because most of my followers have been following me for years. I don't want to talk about the same thing forever and ever and ever, especially as, where's my line? Especially as the further my career progresses, the less I believe what I used to think was the reason I was good is the reason I was good. And when I say good, I mean whatever success you might say that I have had, if any. And I even believe it to the point that, I've had close friends, the ones who are close enough that they can tell you things you don't want to hear, say, man, you got to like start doing TikTok videos and do more haircuts and stop talking about the camera stuff so much. Like you're pigeonholing yourself and you're getting all of your followers aren't going to care about this. Just post what they care about. I would rather lose more followers than lie to you. I would rather lose more followers than do something that I don't believe is going to be helpful. I literally can't tell you how many barbers and stylists will message me and say, hey, check out my work. Let me know what you think. What can I do to be better? And I'll go look at their account and their haircuts are immaculate. Their haircuts are phenomenal. They're tasteful. They're well put together, but they got a crooked phone photo with like a guy picking his nose in the background. And I'm like, honestly, if you want a better career, learn how to take a better picture. And for the last year, I've been really hesitant to say what I just said. Like even just now as I was saying it, I wanted to try to pad the blow and lie a little and say, oh, or also you could like learn to do this type of fade better. But no, the reality of it is I'm kind of getting sick of not saying and doing and being what I believe I need to. Or like there was a saying that, or a concept in a book that I read a long time ago. It was called Good to Great by Jim Collins. And in this book, he talked about how these companies that would go from being good companies to great companies, something that they did as they pivoted to become great is they found what they called a hedgehog concept. And this hedgehog concept works like this. Like you think about a fox, and a fox is like graceful and cunning and fast, and he has sharp teeth and sharp claws, and his ears work really well. He can hear stuff from a million miles away. So a fox is like this cunning, graceful, sly creature, right? But the hedgehog is dumpy and kind of slow. They're real cute, and when they run, their legs go like a million miles an hour, but they move like this fast. Anyways, the hedgehog is not graceful. He's not cunning. He's not slick. But every time the hedgehog curls up into a ball of spikes, the fox can't eat him. And so in this book, he's saying, find your thing. You don't have to be the best hair cutter in the world. He doesn't use hair cutting as an example, but I am. You don't have to be the best hair cutter in the world. You just have to find your thing that you can do that works every time. And I'll tell you, for 4 or 5 years, social media worked for me every time. I posted and I was like, cool, another viral image, Google me. And I stopped aiming for that because I don't want to be an internet personality. I want to be somebody that helps hairdressers, if that makes sense. But anyways, another thing that they said in that book, Good to Great, is whatever it is that you stick to doing, whatever you make your hedgehog concept, if you don't believe that you could be the best in the world at it, you shouldn't be doing it. And honestly, like this little bob that I'm trying to cut here that might work, might not work, I don't think I could be the best in the world at that. I think if I practiced this every night for the rest of my life, I still wouldn't be the best in the world at it. But you know what I know I'm the best in the world at? Teaching barbers and hairstylists how to take better photos in a salon and barbershop environment. Because I've been to hundreds of salons and barbershops. I've taken, oh my gosh, hundreds of thousands of photos. I've ingested hundreds of thousands of hair photos on social media. I've seen so many collections and winners of this and and just Instagram posts. I've been ingesting Instagram since 2012. I see which posts are viral. I can tell you when I scroll by something and I see a photo for the first time it's posted, I'm like, oh, this is going to be everywhere by the end of the day, and it is. I've been studying photography for 6 or 7 years now, and I put together a course at thehairjam.com, which I've released in more primitive forms before. It's about 3 hours now of in-depth education about photography for barbers and hairstylists in your typical salon or barbershop environment. And it's everything from like what the buttons on your fancy camera actually do, how light works, how to create good light, how to recognize good light, how to create good light, how to edit photos, composition, framing, all of that stuff. A really big one for hair colorists. Like, I talk a lot about how to get perfectly accurate color with your camera. Even if it is a phone camera, you can get perfectly accurate color in your photos if you know how to use it. So if you're still with me at this point, you probably realized a long time ago, this whole thing was a sales pitch for my photography course. I'll be totally honest with you. Sure as freaking hell don't get followers out of doing what I'm doing right now. I'm not doing any of this for followers. In fact, I've lost close to 10,000 followers since I started doing all this. I'm not aiming to get followers. I'm aiming to help you to have your career get better by learning how to use your camera a little more. So we launched these courses. We make them available for purchase for like a weekend here, a weekend there. We try to do it once a quarter. COVID kind of like slowed that down a little bit. But the reason we do it quarterly is, for one, I don't like promoting things. I don't like feeling like a salesman. And if I only launch the course, I only make it available once a quarter, then I don't have to talk about it the rest of the time. And so like right now I'm talking about it a lot because I'm about to launch it again. But as soon as it's launched, I'll shut up about it. I'll just shut up and post haircuts like some people want me to do. And on top of that, in keeping the enrollment numbers low by having it limited like this really does make it a lot easier to interact with people. Like, I got to tell you, it's one of the worst things in the world when somebody messages me and we talk back and forth a couple times, and I'm talking to them about, they're asking about photography, and I'm talking to them about it like they've never heard anything. And then they mention something about my course, and I go, oh, you're in my course, sorry. And so when I have like limited numbers, it's easier for me to go through the list and kind of get to know everybody who's involved. So anyways, with all that said, check the description to find out when we're launching the course again. And please blow me up in the comments and give me any hate or disagreements or thumbs downs or thumbs ups that you might have there. Thanks for watching.